Hey you guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to my channel. If I look a little crusty or a little tired, please excuse that. I just got back from work like 20 minutes ago and I really want to go take a nap. In today's video, as you can tell by the title, we are going to be talking about 10 different books that I think are basically guaranteed to get you out of your reading slump. This is only 5 because the other 5 I read like digital copies of, but do not be deceived, this is a video about 10 books, not 5. The first book we have is actually one of my favorite books of all time, and that is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This book is very cute, very rom-com. I've talked about it in quite a few of my book videos, I feel like, but that's just because I love it so much. It's friends to strangers to friends to lovers, one bed trope, grumpy sunshine, past, present tense. This book just has everything I absolutely love. All of my favorite tropes are in this one book, and I think that's why I love it so much. The plot of this book is that there are two friends, Poppy and Alex, and they have been best friends since college. They were best friends for like 11 years, and then 2 years ago something happened and they completely cut off contact and stopped speaking to each other. And Poppy works for this like travel magazine, so she has to travel for her job or whatever, and when her and Alex first met, they used to go on these dirt cheap summer vacations together every year. So when Poppy gets this opportunity to go on a summer vacation for her job, she sees it as a chance to invite Alex to go on one more summer adventure and kind of figure out what went wrong with their friendship and bring it back together. So in the current chapters, you see them kind of moving along in their friendship and this kind of tumultuous little bit of tension, very awkward summer trip as they try to get to know each other again. And the past chapters are working up from the day that they meet all the way up until the event that leads them to stop talking. And I could not put this book down because one, in the past chapters, I just want to get to the chapter that tells me what happened, but the present chapters are just so engaging and so fun that you don't want to put it down. I love Emily Henry's writing style. I think it's very witty, very page-turn worthy. So if you're into rom-coms, even if you're not, this book really got me into rom-coms. 10 out of 10 would recommend. The second book is for all of my fantasy girlies. I was not a fantasy girly till I read this book, but this book has convinced me, it has changed me, and that is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. If you're not super into fantasy yet, this might take you a minute to get into because that's what happened for me. But once you're into it, you could not put it down. This is a 3-book series, and I think I read the whole series in like a week maybe. It's just extremely engaging. Cruel Prince tells the story of Jude, who is the protagonist, and Carden, who is our token cruel prince. And this man genuinely hates her like to her guts. Jude is from the human world, but she's being raised in the fairy world and the folk world, and she wants to prove herself. She wants to belong. She wants to become a knight and belong among the fae and the fairy folk. And Carden, he's just out to get her. His mission in life is to make her life impossible, and there's this whole coup with the throne, like war is potentially going to be waged. It's a lot. It's very hard to talk about this book without spoiling it, but if you haven't read The Cruel Prince, it's as hyped up as it is for a reason. So if you love fantasy and you for some reason have not read this yet, this definitely will get you out of your slump. Because this next book I don't have a physical copy of because I borrowed it from my friend, but this book has my whole heart. It is like definitely like in my top 3 favorite books of all time, and that book is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. This is another friends to lovers, childhood friends to lovers to strangers to friends to lovers once again. Once again, it is another past-present kind of book, and everything about this book is just so perfect. In Love in Other Words, Macy and Elliot meet when they're children. They have a very token childhood friends to lovers where you watch them grow up and kind of fall for each other and then bond. 11 years before the present chapters, something happens that causes them to cut off all contact because that's exactly how past and present works, and Elliot has no idea what he did that caused Macy to cut off contact. But then 11 years later, Macy is just chilling in a cafe, and all of a sudden she sees Elliot and he's once again in her life. So the past chapters are just watching their childhood love story unfold, from them meeting as kids to them kind of realizing these complicated feelings for each other as teenagers. The present chapters are obviously trying to figure out what went wrong and like that very awkward, tumultuous friendship, because Elliot wants nothing more to be back in Macy's life, and Macy is very on guard. The next book on this list is another romance book, and that is The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. This book is enemies to lovers, though I say enemies very lightly because it's more like unrequited enemies to lovers. Like one of them passionately hates the other one. So you've probably seen this book on TikTok. I wouldn't say it's one of like my favorite books of all time, but it's a very entertaining read. So if you need something to just get you out of a slump, I think this is a fun book you can pick up and read very fast. It has a very light, easy writing style. But Lena needs a date to her sister's wedding, and she lies to her whole family and tells them that she's bringing her boyfriend, but she doesn't actually have a boyfriend. And then her arch nemesis, Aaron Blackford, hears her little complicated situation, and he's like, well, I will be your fake boyfriend. And she's like, ha ha ha, you're crazy. That's not happening. So the first half of the book is not even in Spain. It's just them arguing about if he's going to be her fake boyfriend or not, and then obviously he agrees to be, like, she agrees to let him be her fake boyfriend. And then you go to Spain, and then you're thrown into the whole Spanish love deception, fake dating. It is also a one-bed trope kind of book, which we all know I love. I was very, very engaged. I'd say the first, like, half of the book, maybe like 2/3 of the book are super engaging just because it's witty, it's funny, their dialogue I think is very entertaining. The ending is a little bit cringy in my opinion, but if you really need something to get you out of a slump, this feels like I'm watching an episode of, like, I don't know, some rom-com. This feels like I'm watching an episode of a TV show. It's really funny, and I think this is a good book to just pick up to, like, get you out of that slump and put you in the mood to want to read more books. Alright, the next book we have is another one of my top, like, 3 favorite books of all time, and that is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I've talked about this book so many times. The whole internet is talking about this book all the time, but it is so deserved. If you have not read this book, you really, really, really need to. It's, like, actually the best thing I've ever read in my life. So Evelyn Hugo was, like, the biggest star of the 50s and 60s. Things like Audrey Hepburn, like Marilyn Monroe level famous. She is the it girl of the 60s and 70s. And this book takes place in modern day, where this girl named Monique, who is working for the book's version of Vogue, is told by Evelyn Hugo that is told by her company that Evelyn Hugo wants to do an interview with her. And basically, Evelyn Hugo is going to do a tell-all of her super scandalous, mysterious life. Because, you know, she had 7 husbands. What went through all of that? What went through all this drama? How'd you get to Hollywood? How'd you get to be this big? Why were you married 7 times? These are all questions, but Monique has a bigger question. And her question is, who is the one true love of Evelyn Hugo's life? Out of all your 7 husbands, who did you love the most? That's what Monique is after in this tell-all. And Evelyn is like, I will tell you everything with time. So you get Monique's side of the story as she's dealing with a separation from her husband, and how Evelyn's story kind of influences her relationship with her husband and her life. But then also you're getting this beautifully told, like, biography of Evelyn Hugo's life, and it's dramatic, it's everything. And the writing style in this book is absolutely amazing. If I could read any book for the first time again, I think it would be this one. Next up on the list we have Archer's Voice, which if you read my last reading wrap-up video, I was talking about this book as well. This book is just one I could not put down. I think I read it so fast. I absolutely adore this book. And in Archer's Voice, Bree moves to a small town after a traumatic event happens and she needs to clear her head. And there she meets the town recluse, who is Archer Hale, hence the title of the book. And after a tragic accident when Archer was a child, everyone kind of stays away from him, thinks he's weird, thinks he's not all there mentally. No one really tries to make an effort. But Bree shows up and she tries to make that effort and connection with Archer. And you kind of see them helping each other work through their traumas and this very, like, tumultuous. I've said that word so many times in this video. I don't know why I never say the word tumultuous. Anyways, but you see them working through their hard trauma and their background and just kind of helping each other. Bree is helping Archer kind of come out of his shell a little bit more. They're just so cute. Archer Hale is the most perfect man on the planet. I love him so much. Next up on the list is The Deal by Elle Kennedy. This is the first book in the Off-Campus series. This book, when you first read it, definitely, I will say, has a very Wattpad-y feel, but I feel like that's kind of good when you're trying to get out of a reading slump. It has a very Wattpad-y feel, but once you get past that feel and kind of adapt to the writing style, if you're someone that's not really used to that, the plot in this book is so forward driven and it's so fun. So you see they're taking the same class, things like philosophy or something, and the teacher basically fails everyone in this class except Hannah. Hannah gets an A. And Garrett Graham is the school's D1 star athlete hockey player, and he bombs this exam. He does not do well at all. But he needs to get an A on this exam and pass the class in order to keep playing hockey. So when he finds out that Hannah has an A, he's like, yo, like, you need to tutor me. And Hannah's like, you're a meathead. I'm not trying to tutor you. But eventually they strike up this deal where he'll kind of like fake date her essentially to make some guy jealous, and she will tutor him and they'll both get what they want, and obviously they end up falling for each other. Garrett Graham is so perfect. The plot, the wit, the humor, it is kind of Wattpad-y, I will admit, but this book is so fun and I just like loved the feel of it. I was so engaged, I could not put it down. Literally my friend came over for a sleepover. I did not speak to her for the first 20 minutes of the sleepover because I needed to finish the book. You all have probably seen this cover on Book Talk before. On any form of the internet where you've seen a book, you've probably seen We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This definitely, I will say, deserves the TikTok hype just because of how insane the plot twist is. This book wasn't my favorite, but the plot twist is actually the most insane thing in the world, which is why I think everyone needs to read it. We Were Liars is about the Sinclair family, and they're like extremely old money rich, like own their own private island rich. And the main character is Cadence Sinclair. And all you know at the beginning of the book is that there was this tragic accident at the their island last summer, because that's where they spend every single summer. And this event was so insanely traumatic that Cadence literally does not remember any of it. She has no idea what happened last summer, but nobody will tell her what happened. The whole book is Cadence trying to piece together memories when she gets back to the island and figure out what happened. And everyone in her life is lying to her. She can't figure it out. No one will tell her what's going on. So the whole book is very cryptic because you're following Cadence's thought process and she has no idea what's going on. There's no outside clues. It's all from Cadence's perspective. But once you figure out what's wrong and once you get to the plot twist, whatever you think the plot twist in this book is, that's not the answer. I can tell you that. It's a very engaging read just because, again, you want to figure out what happened. You want to know. And the author is very good at writing hooks that just keep you grappled on the entire time. Next up is All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. So in All Your Perfects, the two main characters are a couple and they are struggling with infertility. They've been married for 7 years, cannot have a child, and the wife wants nothing more than to have a baby and to have a family. And this struggle with infertility is finally starting to pull apart their marriage. This is another past-present book where in the past chapters you watch them meet for the first time and you just watch them fall in love. And I've never read about two people as purely and perfectly in love as these two people in my life. The present chapters are a violent, smack-to-the-face reminder that their marriage is falling apart. And the book in the present chapters is them trying to save their marriage. I bawled my eyes out reading this book. It's another book that you can't stop reading just because you need to know if they end up together, if they end up splitting, what happens. Alright, the last book on this list is for my people who are kind of more into self-help kind of books, and that book is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This book is self-help disguised as fiction, but it's it's so good. The character ends up taking their own life at the beginning of the book, but instead of passing away, they're kind of in a limbo, and that limbo is the Midnight Library, where every single book on the shelf is another way your life could have gone. Is another way her life could have gone if she just made one different decision, done one different thing. So the reason that she had ended her life in the first place was she felt like she wasn't contributing to the world, she was doing nothing, yada yada yada. So the librarian tells her that she can explore all these lives, find one she wants to live in, whatever, the decision is hers. So the whole book is her going through and living all these different lives that she could have lived if she made different decisions and kind of trying to figure out what she wants and all of that. It's very impactful and it's very powerful, and if you're not into self-help or self-reflection, maybe hold off. I have talked enough, and that concludes 10 books I think will get you guys out of your reading slumps, because they definitely helped me with mine. I think my camera's about to die, so I upload every single Sunday, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!